G'day everybody, Simon here, Explosive Action. I am back for an OG metal update. I've got 11 records, going to turn the volume up to 11, so let's get into it. So first things first, I've got a little bit of a cold, so I might sound a bit snuffly, and I'm still using my phone as the camera. That's probably going to be the way forward from now on. I've got a bit of a clip thing, like you put the phone on like a clip, I don't know, whatever you call it. It's in the post. It should help things. I know these videos are a little bit cramped, so it should help me zoom out a bit and get a bigger picture. But anyway, that'll be for next time. Hopefully this video is still fine and you can see and hear me and the records. Like I said, we've got 11 here. I've been collecting these since about November, probably, maybe early December, and the pile just got big enough, and time for a metal video. So 11. Volume 11, we're going to crank this and check out a bunch of original press, thrash, speed, traditional heavy metal, death metal in there, there's a grindcore in there. It's all across the spectrum. There's the grindcore's a 90s first press. So anyway, we're going to get straight into it with this one. Kublai Khan, Annihilation. It's a really good album actually. It's in sort of a second tier, possibly third tier kind of thrash album, and it's a one and done band. It's a really good cover. I mean, that cover is what sort of drew me in. This is the original press on New Renaissance under license from German label Shark Records, who did the Euro release. It's not a very even album, I'll be fair to say, but it is a good one. So yeah, this is the band here, looking incredibly thrash. And Death Breath is the cracking first track. That's all good. It's a nice little bop, as some people might say. And then the second track though, Mongrel's Horde, that is a ripper and borrows heavily from Metallica's Whiplash. I mean, heavily. It sounds like Whiplash. It's beat for beat, and then it goes into the chorus in a very similar way, and then through the way that the vocal lines and the guitars are delivered in sort of the verse, it's so Whiplash. But then the next track, Down to the Inferno, that one feels, I have to say, a little bit uninspired. So that's sort of a mid-pace go nowhere track, and I'm okay with mid-pace, there's no issue with that, but it's a bit bland. That one's not a great track. It's approaching groove metal, which is, start pulling back a little bit there, folks. It's it's okay. It's not my favorite, but I'm being a bit mean. Doesn't matter, but that's okay, because the side A closer, Liar's Dice, that's back to ripping thrash territory again. So we're all good for the moment. That one's kind of aping Metal Militia, or perhaps Rattlehead. These guys wearing their influences on their sleeve, and when they're not, I guess you get the kind of tepid track, I suppose. This is what happens on the album. It flips from rages to just mid-level kind of tracks. As I said, it's an uneven album, and that's okay. I mean, nothing's terrible. The fast songs are great. The other songs are fine. Nothing's terrible. And Metal Archives rates this as 70%, right on 7-0, and I think that's fair. I think that's the rating this album should have, is 70%. It's 1987. There's a million bands at this point in thrash, 1987 and thrash. I mean, that is what metal is at this point. So, a lot of competition. These guys only did one album, and maybe that's why. Because they could do a few belters which sounded like other bands, and a few other tracks that weren't the best. But it's fine. It's fun. I'm finding it fun still to dig up these bands, and give them a go. And it is something I'm going to listen to again. Otherwise, I don't buy these things, right? And it just is what it is. Kublai Khan, Annihilation, and it's a good cover. I know my man Brendan Von Doom's got this, and it's had a reissue relatively recently, so not hard to get. But there you go, Kublai Khan on New Renaissance. There's the logo there. Really good condition as well, and I got it for a good price. So this original is starting to get up there a bit. But I got it from seller on Facebook, I was happy with the price. So there you go, Kublai Khan, Annihilation. It's pretty decent. It's a 70% thrash album. Okay, the next one is a short 5-track EP from 1986, and it's very Lizzie Borden sounding, straight up heavy metal. This is Love this cover. Banshee with Cry in the Night. This is, yeah, I mean, this is exactly... It really is like Lizzie Borden's first EP. What is that? Something of the Axe? I can't remember. It's got Axe in it. And I mean, it's probably released within about the same year or so from memory, and it's on Metal Blade. Like, very similar kind of things, at least in this EP level. I think the band may have changed a little bit over time. They might have got a bit more hard rock than metal. I mean, a lot of bands did that. But on this EP, yeah, big, powerful drums. That big Metal Blade production. Big rocking riffs. It's not hard rock. This is metal, but the riffs just rock out, right? Very tasteful solos in this, and the very Lizzie Borden, Blackie Lawless style power vocals with a bit of grit to them as well. Coming out of the brilliantly named, and there's the band, Tommy Lee Flood. It just says there Tommy Lee, but it's Tommy Lee Flood, which is brilliant. And apparently he went on and did a non-metal band just called Flood. I mean, I'm presuming it's going to be, I don't know, some kind of just rock band, but Flood. So that was amusing. And that's really it. So you get 4 guys and you get 5 tracks in an EP that goes for 24 minutes long. And it's just hard rock and metal that sounds like the first Lizzie Borden EP and the first album. That's it. That's what you're getting here. It's not much else to say. I can go through it a bit more. Like the first track, I mean, all the tracks are written here, but goddamn. Let's see, where do we start? We Want You. There you go. That's the first track. It actually says first verse, bridge, chorus, guitar solo, chorus during solo, third verse. I love how they break it down. No one does that. Yeah, We Want You, the first track, absolute barn burner, and I'm going to use that phrase a few times. I think I might have got that from Alan. Let's talk Alan, the Professor of Steel. Let's go with that from Heavy Metallurgy. Let's Talk Metal, and yeah, barn burner. I'm going to say it a few times tonight, but that one is, and then yeah, it goes on like that. The next track is just as good. The side A closer, I Believe, is the power ballad, but it actually has balls to it. I'm okay with power ballads when that has the power, and it's not just ballad. Look, you're a metal band, power ballad, fine, but just give me ballad. These guys don't. It's got power. It's good. Side B opener, The Stranger. Go up there. That's the epic track. Like big thing. It's got acoustic guitars in it at the start. It's got big riffs that see it all the way through. Sort of slower, heavier song. Like it's got a good heavy sound to it. But then the final track, called Cry in the Night, starts with your evil demon voice because 1986 heavy metal, and an almost sort of speed metal riff. Like it's pushing that a little bit. And Tommy Lee, Mr. Flood, and the band as a whole on this track is very Iron Maiden-ish. We're starting to get into that style, more double kick, a bit more of a power metal leaning to it. And that's it. That Banshee with this sort of graffiti dripping logo with like a spooky sky behind it, which I really like. Don Smith did that in 1986. There you go, he signed it. And you know, yeah, like that cover and possibly the band photo, all the poofy hair may make you think this is glam, but no, look, at least on this EP, this is the only thing I've ever heard from the band is this EP. Anything but. It's just straight up Lizzie Borden style heavy metal, and it's good. Really enjoy it, and it's not hard to get. It's really cheap. Just it showed up locally. May not show up locally, at least for me, often, but when it does, cheap. And yeah, pretty minty looking. Metal Blade Records release there. So there you go. Very good stuff from Banshee. And yeah, now I've got to re-sleeve this thing, which is always good fun. So yeah, Banshee, Cry in the Night. You know, don't let the silly logo and the band photo and all that kind of stuff dissuade you. If you just like that first couple of Lizzie Bordens and you like the powerful voice from Blackie Lawless on the first Wasp album, give this one a go. Cry in the Night from Banshee. Okay, the next one's a real ripper. I really dig this album. The 4th album from this Ohio-based band. This is Chastain with the voice of the cult, led by the powerhouse vocalist Leather Leone. What a great name. And of course, David Chastain on guitars. This is kind of one of those virtuoso projects, right? But it's not your Yngwie Malmsteen plus people. It is definitely more of a band feeling going on here. Which is good because that's why I'm here. And yes, so you know, you can't take away from David Chastain. I mean, he's a wild guitarist. When it hits the leads and the solos, yep, quality, absolutely quality. But he's a great riff writer. He's the only guitarist. He's not just Mr. Leads and someone else does the riffs. There's bass guitar, but in terms of, you know, just actual electric guitar, he's it. So he does the riffs and he does the leads, which means he has to write good song, and he does. It's good stuff all the way through. Really peppery drums on this one as well. So I've got other Chastain. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but they're by this point they're definitely getting a bit more. I don't want to say technical. I suppose it is, because, you know, he's one of those virtuoso guitarists. But the band is just getting a bit more involved. Let's go with involved. I think more interesting, the songs. I think not just sort of your straight up heavy metal that you might have got in the first album. It is really starting to get, you know, this is our fourth album. We know what we're doing, and we're going to keep just doing things a bit more interesting. So, yeah, if you don't know the band, they're very similar to maybe Warlock a couple of albums in, but even more on the metal-edged sound. So, you know, the first Warlock is definitely a metal album, but it's got some of that early hard rock stuff going in there. But then they got more metal as they went on, and then Doro went off and went, you know, metal queen. Chastain is metal from the start, like proper all the way through, and this one, no exception, quality stuff. The first two tracks, The Voice of the Cult and Live Hard, just blistering rippers. There's the band there, more poofy hair. Yeah, they're really good ripping songs, and absolutely no issues with that. And then the third track, Chains of Love. Now this is where you think it could go to hell with that kind of title. But it sort of halves the speed, but it doubles the heaviness, like just real chunky sounding thing. I guess that's what you do with Chains of Love. I mean, you've got the love bit that slows it down, but the chains make it ballsy. Yeah, it ties you down, whatever. The fourth track, Share Yourself With Me. That has a title, absolutely, that screams ballad, but it is as fast as the first two tracks on the album, and has very fun bass drum work on this one, like lots of sort of triplets and that kind of stuff. So I love it when that happens, when you're like, oh, here we go, here it comes. But then it's the opposite. Brilliant. Makes me like it even more. And then the side A track, the closing track, Fortune Teller, really quite fantastic sort of creeping riff in that one, just creepy, crawly sounding thing. It's very ominous, repeated a few times. That Mars, Bringer of War drums, you know, then Nile went on and did Ramsey's Bringer of War, they did the same thing, but that they do that in this, so it's like, oh, it's amping you up, you know, it's Mars. So that was good to hear, I like that. Then into side B, Child of Evermore, razor sharp Blizzard riff on that thing, gave me that metal face, like, oh yeah, that like riff face, man. Good stuff. It had a, yeah, like, I don't want to say it was like tremolo, but it was a real fast riff that took me right back to Fight Fire with Fire. So that was good. I was happy to hear that. There's a later track, Evil for Evil. Really good chorus singing there from Leather Leone. And that's a very balls out, just sort of double bass frenzy all the way through it, and then David's ripping solos. So, I mean, I haven't found a dud yet, have I? And the final track, Take Me Home, that's one of those creeping riffs again, but it's the epic song of the album. Like, it's not the super fast one, it's not super slow, it's just, it is the final track, it's the big Take Me Home, it's the one that takes you home, you know, it's the ending, it's got length to it, and yeah, it's just a great ending to this album. So, you know, big powerhouse drums, Leather Leone really lets rip on this one, with the Take Me Home chorus again, and yeah, and ripping solo, and that's it. I mean, The Voice of the Cult, the fourth album from Chastain. Now, I've got the first two, which are Mystery of Illusion and Rulers of the Wasteland. Both good. They get better as they go on, clearly, this band. The only one I don't have is the third album, Seventh of Never. So I haven't heard that yet. There's a couple on my wish list. I'll get there eventually. But based on the three I've heard, this thing is the winner. So Seventh of Never has got a lot of work to do to beat this one for me. Maybe it will. I'll be surprised when I get it. I'm sure it'll be strong. But yeah, for the moment, The Voice of the Cult from Chastain. Ripping, just slightly sort of technical, kind of virtuoso, A little bit power, a little bit speed, mostly just balls out heavy metal. From 86 on Roadrunner, so there we go. And there's lyrics on this side. So good stuff here from Chastain, the voice of the cult. I even like the cover. You got your sort of, I guess they're going like this is a big cult church thing. It's on a island, so it's looking menacing. There's a lot of stuff going on here actually. There's a lot of work, equipment, keeping this thing alive, a power grid leading up to it, and then all the majesty up the top there. So anyway, they're obviously saying things there with the voice of the cult, but I recommend that you pick up the voice of the cult from Chastain. Okay, next up we have a Belgian band, and I've already got their second album. I picked it up, I think, at a record fair. But this one I had on my wish list on Discogs, and it finally showed up locally. The debut album from Belgium band Crossfire, See You in Hell. Love that artwork, and they have a bit of a theme. Their second album, they've only got 2 albums I think, has this sort of same skull guy, which is just brilliant. It's total Mausoleum Records artwork, because it is a Mausoleum record, so you know, brilliant. And I love their logo, which is the guitars like crossed over. See You in Hell indeed. And the opening track on this one, mwah, like absolute ripper. It's just, oh man, it's a fast one. It's like a real raw and loose guitar tone on this track. Demon of Evil is the very boring back here. We'll just show it the once. There you go. There's the tracks. A little bit going on, and not too much going here. 1984, I should point out. 1984. We've discussed before about me in my metal journey here as I'm going backwards. Like I was a death metal kid. That's, you know, aside from your Metallicas and a few 90s things and Sepulturas, I was a death metal kid for the longest of time. So for me, going back in time to 80s and sort of, you know, reprogramming my mind about what is metal, 1984 is pushing a barrier for me, with the exception, yeah, Metallica 83 and a couple other things, Warlord I should say, and a few other things. But 85, it tends to be where I think things got to more my tastes as they stand now. 84 and 83, going back, and then 82, things start diverging from what I particularly like sometimes, and we're going to get into that with this and a couple of other albums today. But anyway, that first track, thundering, almost purely double bass drumming all the way through, so bam, you've got me. Strained, very gruff vocals from Peter de Wint. He's got, yeah, it's a real straining sound he's got there. It's a solid opener, right, that first track. As usual for a metal album, 1984, the second track is not as much of a, let's say it again, barn burner. The terribly named Killing a Cop. Definitely more rocking style. Even has a sort of let's sing together kind of line in it. I could have done without that, but okay, 1984. It's not terrible. Just, you know, bracing myself. It's fine. It's okay. The third track, Magnificent Night. That sets us back to the speed metal double bass, so we're all happy again. You see, I really do like speed metal, okay? It has a bit of like a fade to black midsection to it, like it sort of slows down, gets a little bit, you know, morose, but it all comes back again. And then side A, Closer, Danger on Earth, it slows it down again, but it's more of like a darker, sort of Sabbathy kind of riff. Like it's, I don't want to say doomy, but it is that chuggier, chunkier, darker style riff, so it's all good. Feeling a lot more true metal than the Killing a Cop song, it's got to be said. Then side B, we open with a track that's just bass guitar and drums for a little bit. The main riff comes in, has another big chug to it, so we're all good. Then that song itself hits speed metal at the halfway mark. Bam, you're getting me again. Good stuff, working really well here for me. Vocals, that strained vocal still going through, that's just what he sound like. And then we get to, yeah, Lover's Game. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Too close to AC/DC territory for me, I am afraid. It's a bit like that Killing a Cop song, but the vocals take on that Brian Johnson Akka Daka boogie rock. Yeah, look, and that basic bitch 4x4 drums that AC/DC do. I don't like AC/DC. I know it's against my heritage of this Australia, but yeah, look, whatever. We won't get into that again. And it's just, yeah, it's not metal enough for me. It's that hard rock, boogie rock kind of song. Could have done without it, but you know, it is what it is. Thankfully it's short. The next track, Star Child, makes that last track just go away. That's a proper metal riff, proper approach to a song. And even though it is a bit more of a rocking kind of... It's almost one of those epic ones again. There's a huge difference. I am learning a huge difference between a hard rock tinged metal song versus a metal tinged hard rock song. And this is the kind of thing, you know, I pick up from Aaron, the metal theologian. He talks a lot about, you know, bands that are more into the hard rock style versus the metal style, and what makes them different. Like, so if you're not for some reason subscribed to Aaron, go metal theologian, go check him out. He's all over this stuff way more than I am. Okay, I'm fairly new to a lot of these types of things. But this is that track on here is the former. That is a hard rock tinged metal song. It's slower, but it gets heavier towards the end as well. Picks right up with this sort of fast double kick, sort of blasty part. Not blast, but you know, double click, like real fast sort of array of them. And the vocals start screaming out that song title, Star Child! Yeah. My cold. So that's a good track. That's a really good one. And then the final song we hit, the title track, See You in Hell, which thankfully is the barn burner. Let me say it again. That you expect. Solid pace throughout this one. Fast riffs, dark tones in the chorus. So look, it's a great album all the way through. It's got one track that's one that's actually reasonably skippable for me, and but overall, I mean that's it. I mean, it's 1984 metal. One day I might get used to the more boogie rock style metal songs. I don't foresee it, but you never know. Going back even further now, 1982, which is really pushing the age of metal boundaries for me. I'm not a Iron Maiden, Judas Priest kind of guy particularly. Like I've got one Judas Priest. I've got Unleashed in the East and that kind of thing. But the earlier stuff, it hasn't really grabbed me. But 1982, and this is an album and a band I've known about for a long time. I've known about the band for ages, and I've listened to a track here or there. I've listened to covers of the band, and it's always been in the okay, but I don't think I'd look into it territory. And then it was a Heavy Metallurgy stream that was banging on about this particular album, and the title, not the title, but the lead-in track, being a transformative song in just the realm of metal. We are talking about Accept with Restless and Wild, and the track that we're particularly talking about on this one is the opener, Fast as a Shark. That must have not only blown the barn doors off, but blown the whole barn away in 1982. I'm obviously the last person in the world of metal to pick this thing up, right? But yes, what an absolute highlight, cracking song from this band. This must have been similar to, when Motorhead did the track Overkill, which was just double kick all the way through. People would have just been like, the fuck is that? And then we have Accept here in 82, essentially inventing speed metal. As far as I'm aware, if there's anything earlier than this that is of that same caliber, I'm sure Aaron and Alan would let me know. But yeah, absolute highlight track on this thing. It is just constant double kicks for the entire duration, pretty much. Lightning fast riffage to it. A real virtuoso solo guitar on that. I think the leads on this thing is really good all the way through. And Udo Kier just belting out those lyrics. Venomous. 3.5 minutes of pure pre-thrash goodness. 1982. Kill 'em all. It's way off there. So, good stuff. And that's not to say that the rest of the album's a letdown. So I'm not going to go, this is a blow your load on the first track album. No. But what a mean opener. That is fantastic. If you are similar to me and you don't know much about Accept, or you've heard maybe like Metal Heart or something like that, and you've gone, whatever, at least go and listen to Fast as a Shark. Holy shit. Great track. The title track, Restless and Wild, is up next. There you go. Cool back there. Flaming guitars, man. It's just metal as, right? It's still a fast slab of metal. It's a bit more, it's not that ripping speed metal thing. We don't really see that again. But it is, particularly for 82, it's still a fast metal track, so that's good, and it's very metal. The third track, Ahead of the Pack, that one has another good solid pace to it, and it has that flavour of steel. Exactly what you want. And then fourth track, Shake Your Heads. Now this is when it does start getting kind of straight ahead with the rocking approach to it. And like it does what it's supposed to do. Like right now, the chorus is stuck in my head. Shake your heads. Like I didn't mean that to happen, but it's now stuck in my head because I've just thought of the song title. So it's the crowd song, and it would have been 82. That would have got the crowd going. So give them that one. Big sing along chorus. The riff is still pure metal on that, and it's got some double bass work. So that's fine. And then side A closer, Neon Lights, opens with a very... I'm pretty sure it's like a distorted bass guitar sound, which is not something that I had heard chronologically. I mean, the first time I heard that, both in terms of my metal, just me getting older, and then also in terms of just the years of metal releases, I hadn't heard a distorted bass guitar as its own instrument without anything else until I heard Cliff Burton on Anesthesia. But I'm pretty sure that's what this is. It sounds like a distorted bass guitar riff to me, preempting Kill 'Em All by a full year. And if that's what it is, it sounds really good. That sort of opens up the track on this one. This is a slower one. It's heavy, interesting drum pattern through the whole thing. The hi-hat doing the whole lifting thing. I don't know if there's a technical name for that, but whatever. I sound like a tool, but you know what I'm talking about. It does that thing. So yeah, it's a really strong side A. Unfortunately, side B opener, get ready. Just like Crossfire did on that Lover's Game song, too close to the Akka Daka for my taste, I'm afraid. That's the hard rock with a metal edge to it, not vice versa. And then I think it's been the problem with the sort of accept songs that I've just randomly heard over the years. I'm like, not metal enough. I sound like a complete tool when I say that. Not metal enough. Move on, but my tastes are my tastes, right? I've never gravitated towards the boogie rock in any way, shape, or form. So when I start hearing that in a metal album, it really puts me off. And I know that Accept in general are sort of referred to as the German AC/DC. So I mean, what the hell am I talking about? I know what I'm getting into. I was here for Fast as a Shark, and anything else that comes close to it is a bonus point. So I can just shut the hell up. But it's fine. It's followed by a very ominous Demon's Night, and it has a very crushing metal riff on it. So we're all good. Everything's right in the world again. And then even the badly titled Flash Rockin' Man, which has another sing-along chorus. It's a bit of a ripper as well. It's heavy as balls, main chuggy riff in that one. So we're all good. But then it's Don't Go Stealing My Soul Away. And it's got goddamn cowbells and a tambourine in it. And I can just see myself down at... Someone's put this on the jukebox at the pub. And the pool tables are out. And it's actually a bit closer to Kiss, really, if I think about it. So that one's my skipper, honestly, on this album. That's the skipper. But the album closer, which is it's not a ripping savage hair puller like the first opener. It's not a Fast as a Shark. It's maybe swimming as a trout, something like that. God damn it, I'm an idiot. But it has a good drive to it, and the way that Udo takes a bit more of a subtle approach to the vocals, especially on that track, I quite liked it. And it's interesting, and it's not my copy. I did look on Discogs, and everyone's like, it just kind of stops, like mid-riff, the whole thing stops, like the tape they were recording into, like they're recording to an 8-track or something, and it ran out of tape, and they're just like, fine, cut it, throw it on the wax. Because it just stops. So, I mean, whatever. The album opens with like this weird, like German kids song rendition of some anthem from like the 1800s. And apparently Udo is singing on it, like it's an old, like maybe from his school days, and they recorded it from the family tapes or something. And I mean, I'm sure everybody's aware of it as well that knows this album, but apparently they got into a bit of unintentional, I don't know, a bit of strife with some people because that particular song, that German song, was apparently used by the Third Reich for some of their marching music. So, yeah, they didn't mean to. I mean, it's literally got Udo as a child singing on. He probably just thought it was a bit of fun. And it's one of those deals, it starts off with that thing, and then you can almost hear the record scratch as everything gets... And then it goes on to the metal track. They did it as a bit of a joke, obviously, but I guess some people at the time didn't find it funny. Whatever. It is what it is. Solid album. Ripping opening track, and actually a completely solid side A, no issues. A couple of duffers for me on side B, one particular, but nothing to snap a record over. And I can see why a lot of people call this their favourite Accept record, and definitely why a lot of people say this is the one that you should listen to first if you're into the more thrashy type things. I completely understand it now. So there you go. Accept with Restless and Wild. Now, I highly doubt, unless someone can tell me, I'm not going to bother getting it out, it's just black. I highly doubt I need to go anywhere else with Accept. You tell me though, if there's a particular Accept album that is Fast as a Shark Mark II, or just solid metal without the boogie rock all the way through or something, let me know. But yeah, for me at the moment, Restless and Wild and that Fast as a Shark, oh, good times. Okay, this next album, if you've been watching my channel, particularly the metal videos, for some time, you will probably go, hey, he's shown this before. No, I haven't, and we're going to get into this. And also, I didn't actually buy this album. This was a freebie. This was given to me with one of the other albums that I purchased here. Don't remember exactly which one. It was a Discogs or an eBay seller, and it just showed up as an extra. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take it. And I figured to myself, well, you know, I've got it. I'll pass it on to someone. Let's just show it for the starters here. This is Cities with Annihilation Absolute. And yeah, I was like, okay, I've got this album. It's a great album. I will, you know, I'll check conditions, see if mine's better or worse. The one I already got. We'll go on from there. However, it's not the same album. This is my album. Now, it's not exactly subtle, but it's different. Hopefully you can see that. I can't see how I'm lining this up, but here's the EP. No brick wall, and there's a big drummer tank. Here's the album. Brick wall, and the drummer, I suppose, yeah, he's standing there at the back without the kit. Otherwise, very similar. Okay? Backs are very different. So you might go, oh, that's just like a reissue, like a Euro version versus the American version. No. Let's get into this. Okay. So, brief recap. Cities. Band doing straight up just angry heavy metal in New York. Demoing since 1983. Very good grit to their sound. Very, very nice. Dug them for a long time. Retroactively, you could probably throw them into the US power metal thing, very different to the Euro power metal. And in 1985, they released this EP. Important distinction, Annihilation Absolute. That continued on with that raw, gritty, just heavy metal attack, right? Balls to the wall, razor riffs, pummeling drums, and often very soaring vocals. It's just all the good stuff. 1986, they changed drummers and picked up then ex-Twisted Sister drummer. His name is AJ Pero, and they re-recorded the damn thing, plus included 3 of their 1983 demo tracks as part of the re-recording. The tracks Cruel Sea, Shades of Black, and Deceiver. Shuffled up the track listing and put the last track first, and there you go. They have an album that has basically the same artwork as the EP with a changed person and a completely different recording. It's not a remaster. It is they've gone in the studio and just done it all again. So the this album with the brick wall is excellent. It's far more refined. It's a cleaner, sharper sound, and it's out on Metal Blade. So it has that, like it was showing the Banshee and you know, the Lizzie Borden has that powerful but clean Metal Blade sound. Here on the EP that I was just gifted as part of that order, this is not that. This came out on Metal Masters, a UK label. It's the only issue that you can get is this UK release. There was nothing else. There's plenty of reissues of the album. Now, I don't know if one of those is like a double disc and it comes with the first EP. I have no idea. But I get the impression the only way to get this is to get this, and it's a very different beast. The songs that are included, it's an EP, so you're missing those 3 demo tracks that were re-recorded for the album. The songs are pretty much the same. They just sound like almost a good demo version of them. But it's a far more street representation, like a loose plug-in and record kind of thing. So that alone makes it worth picking this EP up if you can find it. The track Not Alone in the Dark on this one starts with Ron Angel, the singer, egging a crowd on. So they're clearly, it's not a live recording, but the start of the track is an excerpt from a live concert. and he's trying to egg the crowd on to yell, heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy fucking metal, heavy fucking metal, and it's, you know, it's wild, and then it kicks into a studio version of the song. So, you know, like, is this an essential addition? If you've got this city's album, and, you know, you see this EP and you realise, that's the different one. Is this essential? Honestly, I kind of think so. This isn't like the demo version versus the album. It's a different part of time. It's a different rendition of the songs, and I think it's worth treating as its own entity. So, you know, if you like the album and you want to hear a grittier, more demo version of it, yeah, I'd say pick up this EP. We'll take a quick look inside. I'll show you the difference here. So it is, yeah, black record, but this one is on your Metal Masters, right? So, as I said, it's just a small UK label, I think. They did a bunch of stuff, but I don't. You know, they did that Diamond Head compilation thing that I showed an update or so ago. That was on Metal Masters. Yeah, not a huge label. I don't know how Cities ended up on this thing, on a New York band ending up on a small UK label in 1985, and that's the only issue of it. But yeah, and then the album, which I've had for ages, and this one is your Metal Blade. So yeah, with different drummer. There's AJ Perro. So yeah, different beasts, but yeah, both really good. Cities. Annihilation Absolute. Absolutely get at least one of them, but get both. Okay, we're going to speed it up a hell of a lot right now. We are also going ahead in time. We've gone far back as 1982, and today we're going to go forward to 1997 for the sophomore release from a Californian power trio grindcore band, Excruciating Terror. Man, I was after this one for a while, and I know there's reissues and there's some CDs and there's an LP reissue, but whenever I saw photos of those reissues, it all looked like someone had taken a photo of the cover. It was all dark and had lost a lot of clarity. And it's not like this is a brilliant photo. You know, it's some poor sap being shot by some military somewhere. It's not a great photo anyway. But it was all like second generation and it was putting me off. So I put this one on a watch list to see if the original would ever show up. And it did, from Queensland, I think, based record store that had a Discogs thing, and then I ended up buying it directly from their store, because you know, if I can avoid Discogs and go straight to their store, save them a couple of bucks, whatever, then I will. So Excruciating Terror. This is, it sounds like early Phobia. Germany's own Nyctophobic springs to mind as well. Of course, you know, if you need a more modern, well, not really modern, but if you need a comparison that's a bit bigger, yeah, Nazem, who had yet to release Inhale Exhale, but they'd done the Industrialist Slave and a bunch of other stuff since 1993 or so. Definitely, I reckon Excruciating Terror probably heard a bit of Nazem somewhere along the tracks. Very fast and dry sounding grind, but they don't blast consistently, and that's why I think this is interesting. A bit like how Inhale Exhale's got a lot of groovy moments in it, right? There's a lot of that in here, probably even more so. It's got like a punky, thrashy feeling to it. Alternating deep and screeched vocals like a lot of the good grind bands do. Short, politically charged songs ranging from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. They're not long, deep thinkers or anything. The shorter they are, the grindier they are. The 30-second songs are just blasts, but the ones getting up to 2 minutes have a bit more room in them, I suppose. In that way, they're a bit like sort of old Napalm Death. You know, Scum was blast all the way through, but From Enslavement had a lot of breaks in it. You know, Utopia Banished and getting onto that era definitely had a lot more of that. So it's kind of in that territory a little bit too. The double bass comes out, which, you know, Napalm started doing. So that was unexpected, actually, getting to the double bass in this. But it's good, and it has a little bit death metal-y sometimes in those bits, but not really. It's an angry album, however you want to cut this. It's raw and sharp production, and pretty much the perfect sounding grindcore album. Like, it sounds how grind should. I love the dry sound and very analog sound that a grindcore album can have. Not so much into when they're very clinical and you know, overproduced, but yeah, not here. This is just like a belter. I love that the back cover looks more interesting than the front cover. Not too sure why. Not too sure what's actually going on here, but anyway. 21 tracks, 29 minutes. the perfect length too. Came out on a label called Pessimizer Records. I know nothing about them. With a URL on the back that surely doesn't exist now. theologianrecords.com/pessimizer.html. Back before people worked out that you could just have a default page and you didn't need to put that crap on it. But anyway, so yeah, really good stuff, and I was really glad to get the original 1997 copy, and I got it for a decent price. You know, a bit more than you pay for the reissue, but I'm happy with it. Funnily enough, this thing has been in Amoeba Records at some point. Has a $4.95 American price sticker on it, and that's amusing. So it's been there, come all the way over here, and then ended up in a Queensland record store used bin. Whatever. And then record in here, standard black. There you go. Lots of tracks because grindcore, and that's it really. So yeah, Excruciating Terror. Was there an inner? Yeah, there's an inner. Got your thrash grind collage. Gotta love that. Always good. No matter which way you turn it, there's always faces at the bottom, so it's actually a pretty cool collage. And then, yeah, more strange artwork and some thanks list stuff. I don't think it's lyrics. No, it's just a massive thanks list. There you go. Excruciating Terror. If you like that, like I was saying, nyctophobic or you know, the first couple of Nazem, yeah, this is the kind of grind you're going to like. Excruciating Terror. Divided we fall. Good stuff. The next one, very happy to pick this one up. This was one I was missing. I only had this on CD, and with Thrash, I've been, as you've obviously noticed, particularly the 80s Thrash, and definitely the Germanic 80s Thrash. I'm like, CD don't cut it. I need the original vinyl. And as I'm getting more and more of it onto vinyl, and having like one album, like album number 3 from a band on CD, and nothing else, it's got to go. My OCD kicked in. So a nice copy of Destruction, released from Agony, I now have on original press vinyl. Very happy. This is their third full length, as I said. If you want to consider Sentence of Death as being the EP, which you should do, it's their third, but you know, you can call it their fourth release, I suppose. And it's definitely their most technical in the guitar department. Lots of learnings have been going on between albums here. Some almost classical sounding solos and leads, which German thrash, were you expecting that? I guess a lot of people probably weren't at the time. Some people have issue with this album. I can see why. It's a little bit, it's not just a, you know, this isn't Pleasure to Kill like Creator or something. This is starting to get to thinking man's thrash. We're not quite there yet, but let's say the lights are on. And I think that's due to the new guitarist in this one, Harry Wilkins, who only stayed for this and Cracked Brain, the one after it. And he wisely departed, along with many of the other band members, for the least successful Human Cannonball. What a turd. But combining his leads and just, I don't know, solos and just general flourishes with the always great rhythm guitar from the founding guitarist Mike, how do you say it? Sifringer, probably how you say it. It just shows a more mature album here for Destruction, and it still thrashes hard, so that's a good thing about it. This isn't like, now they're a progressive metal band. Nope, still thrash. Just has a little bit more groove. It's heavy as hell, and has a little bit more technical stuff to it, and Schmear's vocals are incredibly schmeary, as always. So it's still Destruction. Some lengthier, more explorative tracks like the Side A Close. I mean, look at this shit. That colour scheme is starting to look a little bit, Glare Mirror, Celtic Frost perhaps. Especially the drumstick in mouth. Oh my god. Anyway, but there's bullet belts, so everything's okay. But anyway, Sign of Fear, the Side A Closer. Show music that's pretty far removed from Infernal Overkill at this point. You know, they have moved on when you listen to a track like that. And as I said, some people don't like this album. I think it kind of rules though. And yeah, this is the Steamhammer press from whenever this came out. 89? Didn't note that down. See if it sells us here. Anyway, there's the inner sleeve, which is really cool. Recorded in 87 in West Germany. So yeah, probably 87, 88 album. There we go, Steamhammer. Lovely lyrics on that side. And yeah, what the hell's going on with that artwork that people have always had comments on. I quite like it. You know, he's definitely in agony. I don't know what's going on. Is that like the trepanning, like they've cracked into his skull and then they're reading his thoughts and they're injecting stuff in his. I don't know what's going on here, mate. He's obviously breathing through his throat there. Whatever. But yeah, good album. I'm really happy to have this one. I don't know what you guys think of this particular Destruction. Chat about it in the comments. Let me know what you think of this one. But yeah, what makes me very happy about knotting this one up in the collection is that in terms of Destruction, Creator, and Sodom albums for their classic early periods, at least from how I define it, I've got all of the original press vinyl now, with the exception of Persecution Mania, and that one's going to be a bit of a prick to try and find for a reasonable price. So if someone in Australia has a Persecution Mania original on vinyl and they wish to sell it for a not $300 Discogs price, hit me up, because I'm very curious and I would like to get it. But anyway, as for this one, Destruction, Released from Agony. If you, I don't know, wrote this album off back in the 80s because it was too technical or something, and you still like Destruction or you still like Thrash, give it another go. But for me, coming to it, relatively recently, I think it's top tier. This next one is the band's third and final album, but the first in my collection, and one that I've been wanting for so long. I've wanted anything from this band on original vinyl for a long time. I've seen reissues come recently, and I'm just going, no, I'm going to wait. And the one I wanted was the third album, and it's the one that finally landed in my lap. God, I'm happy, finally. Liege Lord, Master Control, with that glorious artwork. I finally have an original copy of this, and I finally have some Liege Lord in the collection. Yes! As I said, I've been after this one for years, so yeah, really thrilled to nail this down. And getting Master Control as the first one, just, yep, get the best first. Not quite thrash, but a very thrashy sounding sort of speed power metal album, and the US power metal kind of sound. Some of that very uncanny Bruce Dickinson style vocals here from Joe Como, I think is how you would say his name. The only album of the three that he appears on. Interesting. So I guess that brought a bit more of the melodicism, the technicality, I suppose. There's some comparisons to be had here, I think, with Sanctuary's Refuge Denied. Agent Steel, definitely a few of the Omen albums, maybe not Battle Cry, but maybe the next one's after it. But it's the twin guitar leads in this that sort of send you into power metal land a bit. Very tight, professional, mostly speedy sounding stuff here from Liege Lord. Really, really good just songs. Like, they're really well thought out, good tracks. The title track itself, Master Control, is an absolute ripper. Followed by a pretty good cover, actually, of Rainbow's Kill the King, which, no, they're not the first band to do it. Heathen did a really good cover of that on their second album. Yeah, they did Kill the King here. And look, I don't have a problem with that as a cover song, actually. I know I talked about Megadeth cover songs and how they're uniformly shit, but I don't know. Kill the King seems to work well. It's a Rainbow song. And when at least the two bands I've heard do a very metal cover of it, works well to me. For years, I didn't know who Rainbow were back in, like 2002 or something, when I got that Heathen album. What is it? Victims of Deception, I think is what it's called. I got that album on CD very early, maybe 2003, 2004, something like that. I didn't know who Rainbow were. I didn't even realize that was a cover when I was listening to it. I was like, that's a little bit different to the rest of the album, but didn't realize it was a cover for a long time. So I guess that helps me keep that in my head when I hear it here. It's funny, I actually hear Liege Lord covering Heathen's cover of Kill the King. That's what I'm kind of hearing. Because of the way I approached it. I didn't hear Rainbow in the 70s, right? So that's just me. You're going to have a different way of hearing covers than I do. But yeah, this is a great album, and I'm stoked, really stoked to have it. All the tracks are good. There's no bad song on this album. It is just solid speed power metal all the way through. Great vocals, ripping leads, twin guitars, man. The drums are fantastic. The logo is awesome. Brilliant stuff. On Metal Blade, we get an inner picture-y sleeve there. There's the band looking, yeah, almost 90s, actually. A lot of denim jeans there. And lyrics. And yeah, just standard Metal Blade, upside down, but yeah. Good stuff! And I'm stoked to have this one. Love the cover artwork. I mean, it really helps sell it. There you go. Market. Oh, it's Roadrunner and Metal Blade. There you go. Which happened quite a bit back then. So yeah, Liege Lord, Master Control. If you've not heard Liege Lord, this is the one to start with, and I'm happy that it's my first pick up. Now on to the other two. Okay, we're going to really hit death metal territory for the next one. We haven't done it properly this time, this update, and it's not often that I get an OG death metal album to show. so I'm throwing it in here with all the thrash and speed metal and that one grindcore album. But we are talking about, and this was a lucky find, and if you're lucky, you can probably still get one now at the time of this recording, and I'll tell you about that at the end. I am talking about Unbounded Terror, Nest of Affliction, 1992, killer 1992 album from Spain, original Drowned Records Productions pressing. And this is one of the first Spanish death metal bands, as far as I'm aware, like I said, released on Drowned. And parts of this sound like, if you don't know these guys, it does sound a bit like fellow Drowned band Pertinence out of Finland, when it gets into that churning sort of tremolo riffs. But it's also equal sounding when it's not doing that. US big chug riffs and thrash leanings, and I hear like Hypocrisy Penetralia, which haven't come out yet, but it gives you an indication that's that kind of dry, sort of driving death metal sound as a good comparison, but then combining it with a bit of the Finnish sound. Man, this is a really good album, and I think for Drowned, all the Drowned titles, you know, you've got Demigod, Pertinence, what is it? Necrophiliac, I think is the other one. Like they're bigger. People think of those ones. I think Unbounded Terror gets thought of at the end. It's not a very large discography from the original Drowned, but this thing rips. It's a fantastic album. Low vocals on this thing. If you're thinking back to that Hypocrisy, kind of sounds like the, what's his name, Masse Broberg from Penetralia and Osculum Obscenum era Hypocrisy. Actually has that kind of style vocal here. Very meaty stuff here, very enjoyable, really good. Ranging from slower sort of cyanide pace to faster, that Finnish death metal sound. It really is across the spectrum. Keeps it very interesting. And like I said, I think it's the one that doesn't get talked about as much. It certainly doesn't get talked about as much as Demigod. And yeah, not Pertinence either. So just one of the many Drowned bands who then became a Repulse Records band, and then became an Extreme Records band, because it's all the same guy that owns the labels. And the band, like so many of these other ones, like Pertinence, like is Demigod probably doing it? I don't know. Convulse, another example. They're not a extreme band, but anyway. Pertinence, good example. They reformed somewhere along the lines, and they then rejoined onto Extreme, and they've done apparently 2 albums since, and I've not heard of them. But you know, that seems to be a thing that's happening with a lot of these bands. Is like Pertinence is the other good example. Wombbath is another good example, where I don't know, sometime in the 2015s to 2020s, they just go, you know what? Let's do some riffs, and they churn out more albums in the 2010s and 2020s than they did in the 90s. It's like they get the flavour for it again, and it's cool to see. But I haven't heard anything from the newer Unbounded Terror. I'm not even sure who's in it. But anyway, yeah, this is great stuff, and I was really happy to find it. Now, where you may find a copy of this, if you're lucky, because when I looked before filming this, there was one left. And after talking to MSUO, that's where this is from, talking to the label owner of Misako, he said that he had a handful of copies of this, and he was just dribbling them out over the years in the used section of the site. They have a used section on MSUO, definitely worth checking that out, which I think might be his personal records, or you know, or similar. And he had multiple copies of this, and at time of writing there is one on MSUO, and I'd say go get it. If you go get it, because the price is good. It's like £38, something like that. You know, cheaper than you'll get on Discogs for sure. And I'm going to assume they're all the same quality, where the cover art here is a strong VG+. There's a little bit of stuff there. The record though, damn thing, if it's been played, you can't tell. It's near mint for sure. Wonderful artwork there. I actually prefer this design here than the front. But there you go. Go take a look in here, because I'm literally showing you what you might be able to pick up yourself if you're quick. There's the Thrash collage and lyrics, and your record there on Drowned. Really is a good album. And yeah, like, it's got some, maybe like it's been in the sleeve for a while, but no scratches or anything. Beautiful. So I'd say go try and pick it up if you can. If you can't get it from MSUO, just keep a look at it anyway, because this is a strong album. Unbounded Terror, Nest of Affliction, out of Spain, 1992. Really good stuff. Definitely, for me, saving the best till last This was a nice pickup. This is a very difficult one to pick up, as I'm sure many of you will know. And I compromised on condition so I could get one that was affordable, and we'll get into that. But man, the 11th album, the last one I'm showing today, is Sadus with Illusions. Yes! I have an OG copy. This is some absolutely rabid thrash from 1988. Borderline death thrash, but let's just say it's an aggressive thrash. This is not your granddad's thrash, you know. This is like a Californian response to Teutonic bands. This is some thrash. Healthy dose of Dark Angel, Darkness Descends chucked in as well. You all know this album. It's never not fast. It is a total assault. Venomous, spitting vocals that do lean it towards that sort of creator sound, rather than your San Francisco kind of, you know, thrash bands. But goddamn, I'm stoked to have this. I love particularly the third track on it, Sadus Attack. It's less than 2 minutes long. And the lyrics. I cannot wait to steal the stage to quench my thirst, for neon is what I crave throughout the day. So feed your face. Sadus will take control. Steal the show. Kill them all. The final command. Attack! Sadus. So good. Love that youthful kind of thrash stuff. It's just... oh, what? This cover? Look at that. High school, like, back of the notepad maths class scribble. We've all drawn this. Like, we've all sat there at the back of the class and there's some lecture going on and you're bored off your tits and you got your pencils out and you've just started doing this shit. And Sadus went, put a logo on it. And yes, that's what I want to see. So this is the band's... there was 2 editions of the self-pressed version on Sadus Records, and I'll show you the inside. This is the Canadian variant. The only thing is different, it says made in Canada on the back. That's because they sold that on the Canadian tour. Most people know as well that Illusions was very quickly renamed to Chemical Exposure. Picture there, which you all know. I thought that was Roadrunner's doing, but at least according to Discogs, on Sadus Records, the cassette edition of the album was renamed to Chemical Exposure. So, yeah, not too sure what took them from Illusions to that, why it happened. Maybe they didn't like their old back of the maths notepad drawing of the name Illusions. Like, and honestly, I would prefer this cover with Chemical Exposure, because the Chemical Exposure artwork is crap. It's just that, you know, band on a neon green. Yay, this is way better. But Illusions, Chemical Exposure sounds fucking thrash. So, whatever. Much prefer the fun amateur cover. But now, we you know, there's the other side. The cover's pretty good. It's a strong VG, even VG plus, right? Wonderful. Produced by Sadus. Made in Canada. Has the Sadus Records PO box. So good, just indie stuff. We'll get inside. It's missing the inner... It's supposed to have an inner thingy. Like, I don't have that, so that took the price down a bit. And the record itself had the caveats. It was listed as Good Plus. Now, Good Plus is like saying shit tier in Discogs land or in any kind of record grading. No idea if it'll come across or not. I'll do some reflections, maybe it will. But if you can see that, you will see it's scratched to shit. Right? If that's coming across. Does that impact the sound? Not as much as you'd think. Now, there is no skips. Good Plus guarantees no skips, and there is no skips. So that's the winner. Is there clicks and pops and crackle? Yeah, of course there is. I gave it a wet clean. The inner groove, like the run-in, is the noisiest. And through a couple of the tracks, when it hits a nasty line, you might get a pop, pop, pop for a few turns. Most of the time, though, it plays clean. Which, I mean, I'm fine. Warts and all, you get a couple of crackly bits and pops on a thrash album from 1988 on a self-pressed record. Who the fuck cares? I'm happy. As long as you don't skip and don't sound like it's playing through sandpaper, it's just warts and all. It's just part of the package for me. I'm fine with that. And I paid 1/5 of the going price. So, you know, if you were to go on Discogs and find a VG Plus, yeah, 5 times more. If you're going to find a near mint, 6 to 7 times more. So I paid Australian $50 shipped, which is nothing. That's 30 US. It's nothing for this thing. As soon as it listed, I couldn't buy it quick enough. I read the conditions. They had the caveats. I'm like, yeah, fine, let's give it a go. Gave it a good wet clean, and I'm very satisfied with what I got. Sure, a near mint would be wonderful. I'm fine. It's good. Sadus Illusions / Chemical Exposure Original Press. Canadian variant. On Sadus Records. Just, at least if you don't know this album, at least get a copy. Get Chemical Exposures on whatever. I don't care. It is top tier thrash, and I'm happy to have an original version. So there you go. For me, that's the highlight. That's the 11 albums of this OG press metal vinyl update. I know I said it was coming, and it was finally here. And yeah, trying to get back on the record thing. A lot of stuff has been piling up. You can see this pile behind me. It's a fuckload to get through at some point. I owe a black metal update, though. That will probably be the next one. We will see if that is the case. But that's the intention. And yeah, hopefully this video looks and sounds okay. And I'm hoping to have a yeah, camera sort of, I don't know, it's like a, I don't know, it's not a tripod, it's like you put it on a hook and it just, you position it and it stays there. We'll see if it works out, hopefully, because currently you're looking at my phone, which I've just precariously put on a shelf, and we're hoping it's okay. And I'm hoping it is okay. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this thrashy, speed metal, deathy, grindy update. 11 records for your ears and a dent in my wallet, but it's all good times and good fun. Make sure you check out this guy, like and subscribe. See you next time.